if you're asking total dollars received per capita, white Americans receive the largest amount of welfare benefits
We're
because
not
they are
talking
still
about
the largest.
total dollars.
Stop.
Talk about total people.
I'm answering the question, Andrew. I'm
Okay.
answering it in full. Relax.
Okay.
Historically, Black Americans have had higher participation than white Americans in programs such as SNAP, SNAP, which is food assistance, TANF, which is cash assistance and Medicaid. White Americans, because of their larger population, often receive the largest total amount of benefits still across many programs. When you include programs also heavily used by the elderly, such as Social Security and Medicare, white Americans per capita receive the largest share of total benefits because they still do make up a larger share of the older population. So
Black people per capita receive more SNAP benefits.
Andrew, are you listening?
What, read the part?
It's still white people.
No, it's not.
I just read it to
read
you.
Read it again because you don't understand what you just read. Read it again.
I'm not reading it again. You don't understand. You obviously didn't listen. You obviously your ears ain't working. So
yeah. So here,
all right, let's get it from the other side now. Go.
On a per capita basis, Black Americans participate in means-tested welfare programs such as SNAP, food assistance, TANF, Medicaid at higher rates than white Americans. Now, let me read that for you again, sir. On a per capita basis, Black Americans participate in means-tested welfare programs such as SNAP, food stamps, TANF, and Medicaid at higher rates than white Americans. What are you confused about? Anything?
Not confused about anything. Confused, well, I'm not confused about anything, brother. What I'm trying to get you to see is that even what you're saying. Wait a minute. That's still so. Wait a minute. So you're saying that welfare is a form of a government is a government subsidy, and is that a form of reparations to you?
Yes, to me it is.
It's a subsidization.
That's not what I asked you.
Yeah. So if we're tying it back to my earlier argument, I'm saying that if it's the case that the government is subsidizing Black people at a higher rate, then what's happening is the government has no money. They're taking money from one group and giving it to another. So how this works in real
taking money from you act like Black people don't pay taxes. So what are you talking about?
I'm trying to explain to you how this works in real time. So if it's the case you're going to vote for somebody, you only vote based on generally two criteria. It's either I'm going to take less from you or I'm going to give something to you from somebody else because the government has no resources. You're the resource. You are born with a Social Security number. And your Social Security number is what the government bets against before it begins to incur debt, things like this, because they're betting that you're going to pay X amount of taxation. So that's literally how the system works
so you're saying that a system that Black people pay into because Black people are taxpayers just like everyone else, and funding for welfare comes from the American taxpayer. You're saying that that essentially Black people subsidize themselves when you break it down. That's what.
No, they're not subsidizing themselves. They're being subsidized by a different group of the population because the government itself can't offer any subsidies. They're only offering money from one group to another. So when you think about it, the government's not the one providing reparations or even the subsidization. It's white Americans and other general working class Americans who are providing that subsidization for Blacks. So I feel like based on your argument, if that's the case and justice requires giving what is due, then Black America should give back to the group which is being taken from, which subsidizes.
So you telling
and DEI too. I need some money for all those jobs I missed out on because I was too white.
The Black Americans should give back to white Americans.
Mm-hmm. If we want to follow your ideals of justice, yes.
That's not my ideal of justice. So my ideal of justice is that Black Americans shouldn't have to, based on what you're saying, for at least the next 60 years, Black Americans should have to get white Americans shit. Because Black Americans were systematically subjugated from wealth creation by a white government that was in power that kept us from owning homes or wealth generation.
But I thought you just said that I'm not responsible for that and you're not responsible for that. I said
the government. I didn't say you, son.
Yeah, great. But right now, there is.
And he also just acknowledged when Andrew said that the government doesn't have resources, it just takes resources from us. So he's acknowledging that we have to pay for him because of something that never happened to him.
There's a responsibility for the people who are alive for injustices which are happening. And if justice is giving to a person what is due them, then what is due to whites
what definition of
from the Black community? Yours.
Well, now I'm going to ask you what
yours. I'm using yours. Your definition is justice requires.
How is anything due to white Americans when they've had an economic advantage?
I'm trying to explain it to you. I'm going to explain it to you, right? Whether or not. I can't explain it to you. No. Okay.
No. Who has had an economic advantage in this country for a longer period of time? White or Black Americans?
White Americans.
All right then. So what you're saying literally makes no fucking sense.
It does. It
It
makes
does
perfect.
not.
It does, because we're the ones who are dealing with it right now. You just said there's no systemic racism, and y'all still get more benefits than we get, and we're the ones paying that benefit. So, if so facto, yes, we need reparations because of DEI and because of welfare.
Makes sense. If it's the case that there is no current systemic racism by your own admission, which is keeping down the black man, but rather social habits, which are imperfect when it comes to society, and so society doesn't want to deal with them based on those social habits, then it would be the case that right now I'm simply being punished for the bad social habits of other people, and you're disproportionately taking wealth from me to give it to those people, which would confine with your idea.
no one
Stop,
is
stop, bro. Let me make the argument.
You
Let
can't
me-
let,
yeah, let's
you
hear
can't
the
let anyone else
Let's hear the
talk.
argument.
You won't even respond to the
Hear the
argument
argument
because you won't even
before.
let me say it. So again, your argument of justice, right? Justice requires restitution. That's your exact premise. Okay. And then when we talk about what that is, what is justice, it's giving what is due. So here's what is due. What is due if it's the case that it's not systemic racism or biases which are causing blacks to have this situation in modernity, but rather bad social habits, which you agree to, then it would have to be the case necessarily that they're disproportionately taking from me, which
The
means
bad
I'm
social
due some
habits that black
justice.
people have-
I'm
the
due
bad-
justice, bro.
The bad social habits that black people
Agreed.
have more directly impact us race internally than they impact white Americans. So what are black people taking from white Americans?
And you just said there's no systemic racism today. So nothing is impacting y'all more than it's impacting us, just like Andrew said. You've already acknowledged that today, in today's times, there is no systemic racism for your side. And we're saying there is for ours because we had to fucking go through DEI and pay extra for welfare. This guy's incapable of understanding any concept except what he wants to think.
America, Andrew.
They're disproportionately taking
Fuck.
money from the taxpayer in order to
They
give it
all
to their
pay
social
taxes.
group.
What are you talking about?
But they are
Black people pay
disproportionate.
taxes the same as white
But they
Americans. So what
Tell that to Wesley Snipes, bitch.
you're saying
Steve,
doesn't
this-
make any sense.
They're
It doesn't even
receiving
logically follow.
disproportionately. They're receiving disproportionately. So give me what is
That's
due
not
because that is
true.
what's just.
That's not what's just.
I
That is
literally
that is
just
the great-
here's
that is
what's
the
true.
single stupidest thing I've
Black
ever heard in my life.
Americans participate in means-tested
Andrew,
welfare
Andrew,
programs,
stop.
SNAP,
Andrew,
food stamps,
Let him make the argument.
Medicaid, everything at disproportional rates in comparison to white people. White people are also paying more into those systems than black people are. It's disproportional that way as well. Therefore, if it's the case that we're following your code of justice, which is to give what is due, right, and justice demands reparations, then
You're forgetting
we
the first
give-
premise of that
stop,
argument.
then Stop, bro. Then
No, you're
black
forgetting the
people
first
would
premise.
have to correct this injustice by giving to whites what is their due.
Andrew, you can't use premise 2 of my argument while neglecting premise 1, which is in this case, did black Americans cause any lasting economic harm for 200 plus years?
What's this 200 plus years shit? You caused it in my household. You caused it in my household when I didn't get the job. What do you mean? You cause it when I have to pay more taxes. You're causing it right now. We're talking about right now crimes, not shit that happened 200 years ago to somebody you never met.
To white Americans.
Well, the
Yes or no,
time
Andrew?
guy, the time, the
Yes
no,
or
no, no.
Right.
But
Okay, then. So what you're saying, it doesn't make any sense.
Well, why would it matter if
Thank
it
you,
was 30
Andrew.
years?
Thank
Why
you.
would it matter if it was 200 or 30 years?
Andrew, you already answered the question. That follow-up does nothing.
Why would it
What-
matter if it was
even
200
it-
or 30
even
years?
if we confine it, even if we go back and confine it to the era of Jim Crow, did black Americans create any legal barrier for full economic participation for white Americans at any point in American history?
Yes.
What legal barrier did black Americans create
Well,
that prevented white Americans
They're
from full
receiving
economic participation?
disproportionate benefits
That is not a
in
legal
comparison to
barrier
what
that
they're
was
giving.
created. Let me
And disproportionate hiring practices when you go for a job. That's even more important. Like if you're going for a job that pays 60,000 a year or 100,000 a year and you don't get that job and some black guy does who's less qualified, yes, that causes me some harm. It's very harmful to me and my family.
Let me restate the question because you
Uh-huh.
might have missed it.
Mhm.
What
Yeah, but I'm talking
legal
about the
barrier
idea
did
of
black
justice.
Americans, what legal barrier
Mhm.
did black Americans
That has
create
no
for white
bearing on the
Americans?
argument.
It has a lot of bearing on the argument.
No, it
because
doesn't.
No, it
my
doesn't.
initial premise was
If
that the
we
U.S.
look-
government caused
Yeah.
lasting economic harm to black
Correct.
Americans.
So
So
if
it
you're-
does have a legal
so if
barrier,
we're talking
which
about-
you choose to try to conveniently ignore, but I won't allow you to do it.
Okay, great. Am I allowed to respond now or no? Okay, great.
No, please.
So,
I'm waiting for an actual.
great. So when we're looking at premise
see.
one, USA caused measurable harm. Now you say that means government-backed policy, which was discriminatory towards Black people. How do I know? Because I wrote it down to make sure that we had it clear. If that's the case, then all we have to do for the USA to cause measurable harm to white people is say that the government has backed policy, which was discriminatory towards white people. If it's the case that they're taking more from white people to disproportionately compensate Black people, I consider that said policy discriminatory. And then under your views of justice, which require restitution, and justice is giving what is due, it would now be Black priority to give reparations to white people to correct this injustice by your own logic, sir.
No,
This dude came in thinking he was getting a payday, and now he owes us money.
it would not be.
Yes, it would. I just walked you
Because
through your own
what you're
logical
doing,
syllogism.
what you're saying,